Hey guys, welcome back. It's the Dr. Cloud Show, and I'm glad that you have joined us in another spot. If you've been following me this week, you know I'm kind of globetrotting, but the good thing is, and kudos to our team here behind the scenes, they've found ways to make this happen no matter where on the globe I find myself. So we all get to be together. And speaking of being together, this is the hour that you get to call in. And let me give you the number for that right off the top here, 844-940-2774, 844-940-2774 is the number to call in and get on during the hour. Hope things are going well for you out there today. And we're going to be talking about it. If they're not, I want you to call us. We've had some great calls this week so far, so much about, how you negotiate a lot of stuff with people that are hurting, people in your life who are hurting. We've had a lot of calls about, concern and care for and conflicts with kind of somebody else, which brings us to kind of one of the reasons why boundaries is such an important concept in life, because, boundaries only exist in the context of a relationship. Who needs boundaries when there's nothing to have a boundary in relation to, right? Remember, freedom and boundaries only exist within determinants. If there's nothing to bump up against you don't need them. So it is our relationships, it's the goodness of connection that springs forth the need to make sure we preserve our freedom and our separateness within those connections. And a lot of times if somebody's in your life that you're connected to that's hurting and struggling and maybe not taking responsibility sometimes for their own freedom, then it spills over to your yard. And that's where we have to figure this out. And that's one of the things we do on this program, as well as all sorts of issues. 844-940-2774. And we have begun to take some email questions in the beginning of the program from our Boundaries.me subscribers. And if you're not a subscriber to Boundaries.me, I want to remind you to go to that website and sign up, and then you get access to lots and lots and lots of different stuff. Our Boundaries.me question for today, and this particular member did not put his or her name, but I had done a coaching video on Boundaries.me. One of the things you get as a subscriber is every day in your inbox, I send you a 2-minute, here's your coaching tip for the day. And those are designed to take you through a path of getting stronger and better if you do them day after day after day. And one of them that I sent was about your treasures. Okay. Now, when we wrote the book Boundaries, when I wrote the book Changes That Heal, actually I talked about within the property of your soul, okay, the boundaries are the property line, okay, inside of me and inside of you, and yours are not mine and mine are not yours. I have treasures and you have treasures of your soul, okay, and that's what needs to be protected. If they weren't treasures, if they weren't good, we would want to get them out of our property, right? Right now, you got going on, I don't want to be gross here, but you got some stuff going on inside of you that within a number of hours, you're going to eliminate, okay? You're going to get the good out of the food that you ate, and there's going to be waste, and you're going to get that out of your boundaries. There's pain that you've gone through that you're going to get off of your property. You're going to cry it out. You're going to leave it behind by expressing the feelings and grief and all that. But there are other things that really are good. They're treasures. And that's what boundaries protect. And so I put a list of treasures in there. If you go to the book Changes That Heal, they're listed in there. What are the elements of my soul that I need my boundaries to protect? Well, here's a list. Your feelings. Your feelings are yours. You're in control of those. You own them. Okay? You have to nurture them. You have to work through them. Your attitudes, how you look at things, your behaviors, those are yours. Nobody else's. Your thoughts. Somebody starts to get in your head and screw around with your thoughts. That's not okay. These are your thoughts, and you should be in control of your thoughts. So feelings, attitudes, behaviors, thoughts, your limits, where you decide to set a limit and where you open up and say, I'm not going to limit that. I'm going to allow that to loose something or to bind something, to contain something, set a limit. Feelings, attitudes, behaviors, choices, limits, your desires, your wants. What do you want out of life? What are your dreams and your desires, your hungers, your appetites? Those are yours. Okay? Feelings, attitudes, behaviors, choices, limits, thoughts, desires, and your loves and your values, the things that you love, that matter to you, that you're attached to, and the things that you value. All of those are worth protecting. And all of those are worth you making sure you have control of those. Nobody else has control of your feelings, attitudes, behaviors, choices, limits, desires, thoughts, talents, loves, values. Those are yours. It's good news to some of you because some of those have been trespassed. Somebody stepped over the boundary and they tried to steal those from you at times or trample them. Well, you know, one of my favorite verses says, Jesus said to not give what is holy to dogs. Isn't that cool? Don't cast your pearls, your treasures before swine or pigs. That's why we have boundaries. That's why we have to protect those things and only give them not to dogs that are going to chew them up like street dogs or swine, pigs that are going to trample them, but to people that are going to value them and that we can share them with. I don't want to have my feelings by myself. I want to share those, but not with dogs or swine. I want to share them with good people. Okay. So that's the concept of treasures. And then the question said, how do you find them? Well, this is a good question because a lot of times we got to go on a treasure hunt. A treasure hunt. I remember one time when my daughter Olivia was probably 8 or 9 years old, and she came to me. No. Hold on. She didn't come to me in the beginning. I went to her. She came to me after I set this up. I was doing a thing with the kids. We would have family meetings. So we'd have a family meeting every week and we go over a lot of stuff and how's everybody doing? How can each of us do better? Fun. I encourage you to do that if you have kids. Have a weekly family meeting and use that as a time to give each other feedback, reward and celebrate, compliment each other, do your planning, your vision casting, all that kind of stuff. But in our family meetings, one of the things that I wanted the kids to learn about was setting goals and how you have goals and how we, realize our goals. And so when the family meetings, we would always do this on a Sunday. And I said, okay, girls, what are your goals for the week? Okay. And so, we talk about a goal or two. Well, a couple of days later, Olivia comes to me and said, Dad, I want to talk to you. So we go on a walk. We walk around the neighborhood. She goes, this goal thing that we do. I said, yeah. She said, it's not working for me. I said, what do you mean? She said, it's just not a good idea. I said, what do you mean it's not a good idea? What? I'm talking to an 8-year-old, right? She goes, well, it's not working for me. She said, because every week you tell us, to sit down and think about it and come up with our goal. She goes, a goal shouldn't be like that. I said, what do you mean? She said, you shouldn't have to think about it and come up with it. It should just be there. It should come out of your heart. You should know what it is, or it really can't be a goal. I mean, it should be in your heart. You shouldn't have to think about it. And I was walking along the sidewalk with this 8-year-old, and I'm thinking, she's right in a sense, because goals have got to be intrinsic. They've got to come from your heart, and they can't be imposed or put upon you. They got to be, and she's kind of got me there. And then I went, wait a minute, no, she doesn't. You got to be smarter than your 8-year-old, right? I mean, I don't know at what age it ends. It's ended by now. They're smarter than me, but it's somewhere between 8 and where they are now. But I had it on this 8-year-old. I turned to her and I said, well, Olivia, let me tell you something. I said, do you remember the other day when you came to me and you said, I'm bored? Remember what I told you? She goes, yeah, I said, I told you, you're responsible for your own fun. That's not my job. You got to go find your own fun. Do you remember what you did? She's trying to think back. I said, I'll tell you what you did. You went up to your room. You went in that big, there's this big chest up there, crap, really. It's old toys and stuff. I think it's crap. It's treasures to her. I said, you went up and you opened up that chest. You started digging through there and you dug through there. And way down at the bottom, you found that, whatever it was. I don't know if it's a doll or a little house or something. And you created this whole world from it. You were up there for 3 hours having the time of your life. She goes, yeah, what does that have to do with goals? I said, well, your heart is like that. You said these goals should just, dreams and everything should just be in your heart. Well, they are. But sometimes you got to go like that treasure chest. You got to go dig around until you find them. Ha ha. I beat the 8-year-old one more time. One more time for Dad. I won. Wasn't too long. I started losing those. But anyway, that day I won because your heart is like that. Okay. Now, let me tell you what gets in the way of this. There's expectations from family can cover up your feelings. You should feel a certain way when I don't know what my feelings are, because all I do is feel what they tell me how to feel. Or invalidation, gaslighting can get you out of touch. Or maybe there's never been a place for your desires in your own family, or your thoughts or your attitudes or whatever. So what you got to do is you got to go on a treasure hunt. Okay. And when we go digging for treasure, we got to have some tools. You got to have some picks and shovels and have some time and some space. And you know what? You shouldn't go on a treasure hunt by yourself. You should have some miners with you. So here's how you find your treasures. You find a space that's safe, that nobody's invalidating, controlling, negating, gaslighting, any of that of your feelings. Okay. And you have a space and you have some other miners there, preferably, it could be more than, but one, sit down with one, a good therapist, a good friend. There's a proverb, one of my favorite verses says, a person's heart is like deep waters and the wise person draws them out. You want to be around people that try to draw out what you're feeling and ask you questions and say, are you sure about that? I saw you kind of grimace when you said that. What was that about? And they're pulling it out of you. So you go on a treasure hunt, you find a safe place to do that where you're not going to be negated. The other thing is sometimes your treasures will be recognized because you go on a journey and you learn. This is why I talk to people about going on lots of dates in their dating world. You might not know what you really like or what you really are looking for until you go out there and go out with a million people, and you're going to find your heart kind of awakens with a certain kind of person or a certain kind of, talent or ability they have. You didn't even know you liked that. Same thing in picking a career. Somebody asked me one time, it seems like you like your work. I said, I love my work. They go, how did you find it? And I said, oh, I'm a psychologist and, I'll do various stuff. Well, how did you find that? I said, well, I was an accounting and finance major and got a job at a bank and worked in the summer and sucked at it and got fired because as a teller, I wrapped a stack of 50s in a ones wrapper and gave away a bunch of money, and the bank didn't like that. And so I found out, maybe that's not my calling. And then I just went through 1,000 jobs and stuff that I'd done. And then I also realized through going through a bunch of these that I was getting involved in some growth groups and stuff when I came to faith, and I noticed that I really my heart would come alive when I was sitting down talking to people and hearing their stories and hear about their life. And then in those stories, I would see concepts and psychological things that I'd learned because I was loving. When I read those books, my heart came alive. So you get out there in a journey and you find out some things really tap into my treasures and they awaken them. So you got to get active. You got to do a treasure hunt. And then sometimes you watch other people because you recognize I mean, come on. People do this all the time. You know, somebody sitting there on a park bench, you know, say you're a woman or a man sitting there, somebody walks by with a certain kind of outfit on, you go, whoa, I like that. Where did you get that? See, by getting around a lot of people and seeing what they do, we learn as well. So watch your heart, watch what wakes it up, and go follow that. Okay, let me give the number out. We have, looks like we got a line open. And then I'm going to go to our first caller, 844-940-2774. That's 844-940-2774. Let me remind you also, if you like this program, please share the link. Tell people about it. We're trying to, continue as we're in lockdown here to build an audience. And if we build an audience, then I will continue to do it even after lockdown. And we won't know that until we know that, either one of those two things. But if you like it, tell other people about it, and also go to Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and share your thoughts with others. 844-940-2774 is our number. Okay, let's go to Sandy, calling us from Colorado, and she has a question about her daughter, it looks like. Sandy, welcome to the program.
Hi, Dr. Cloud.
Good morning, or afternoon, I should say. Well, it depends on where you are. It's afternoon where I am.
Early afternoon.
Okay. How can I help you?
I have a 20-year-old daughter who has been living, she's 23.
23,
She graduated. Yes.
Okay. All right. 23-year-old daughter.
She graduated from college last year and has been living at home. And she's been preparing to do some things to get ready to apply to medical school. She has a boyfriend that
Sandy, I think your cell connection is going in and out. Are you in a known bad spot in your house or somewhere? Is there any way to get to a better place?
I apologize. I'm going to walk outside to see if that helps. I know there's a little delay.
That sounds way better. Okay. So you have a 23-year-old daughter. She's graduated from college, and what?
Yeah, so she's been living at home while she's been getting ready to apply to medical school, and she has a boyfriend that she has been dating for the last 2 years.
Uh-huh.
We have not been super crazy about him. We have very nicely expressed our concerns that there's differences on religious views, political views, all the things,
What was the first? I heard political. I didn't hear the views before your cell phone went out on me again. What was it?
Religious views. So
religious views. Okay, so now does she and he share the same views, or she and you do and he doesn't?
His family aren't. He's not as committed Christian as we are.
You know what, Sandy? I just can't. I'm sorry, I can't understand you. I'm going to ask you. Could you hang up and call back and see if you can get a different connection?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. I hate it when that happens. One of the great things about cell phones is that we have cell phones. One of the not so great things about cell phones is that they are cell phones. But I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and we'll see if Sandy gets back. Let me give the number for the rest of you who are out there and would like to call. 844-940-2774. 844-940-2774 is our number, and we do have a line open, so call me. But I'm going to talk a little bit about this without knowing more. If you had the chance, if you go back, I think it's still up on Facebook at least. One show last week I did with my youngest daughter, who is 18, and we did an interview together. If you pull it up, you can see Lucy and me, or Lucy and I sitting there, and so I was asking her during the interview to talk about we're talking about parenting and teenagers and what they need and all this kind of stuff. And I said, so what are one of the things that I do or have done or whatever that you didn't like or I could do better? And we're kind of sort of processing that in the interview. And I can't remember exactly how it came up. It might have even come from a question but she said something about that she wanted me to be a little more open to her views because we differ in our views on some things. And she said she didn't go into a list, but one of them was kind of how we think about the faith sometimes, and we've got some political differences here and there, and on some issues, and just different, right? And so we were laughing about that and talking about it. And you might want to go listen to that. But one of the things that we have to realize, I just talked about treasures, right? And the treasures of your soul. And if you remember the list I gave, feelings, attitudes, behaviors, choices, limits, talents, desires, loves, values, that those are yours, and yours, mine are mine, and yours are yours. And we stay in a relationship, we don't trespass by trying to control the others, but we're in a relationship with them, we can influence each other. But one of the things I think that is really, really important is if we can be in a relationship and love each other and have respect for differences, because they are. And if we don't respect them, then at some point it's going to affect the connection. And so try to preserve the connection and have differences of opinion. Now, sometimes, and Sandy's back. Sandy, can we get back on the air? Are you there, Sandy?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you right there. Okay.
Is that better?
Good. That is better. And I was just talking about trying to respect each other's views and feelings and this and that, because you didn't get far enough into your question. Now, sometimes what I was also going to say is sometimes there are things that we have to take a firmer stand. If somebody's getting hurt or abused or things like that, well, I'm not going to respect the freedom to hurt somebody and abuse somebody. I'm going to try to do something about that. So anyway, she's moved. She's in this relationship. Now she has moved to a different place in her views, is what I was asking, than you, or is it more like this guy has different views than what you like?
Yes, we don't feel like he's more of, we're more conservative in our political views and our religious views. He's less conservative for sure.
Okay, what about her? What about her?
She does. We've asked her, and she does say that. I mean, she believes like we do. We asked her, like, these are some concerns. We know that politically, for example, his views are not the same as ours. Have you talked about that? Yeah, but he doesn't have a problem with it. And I'm like, okay, even though we've just seen a few things that we have expressed concerns over. We go to church every Sunday. We're very committed. Mm-hmm. She reads her Bible. He is of a denomination that, doesn't, well, I shouldn't say of a denomination. He just doesn't, he's only gone to church with us a few times over the last couple of years. And so he has moved. Would he
say he has the same faith as you? He just doesn't practice it in the same way?
There's varying degrees of what you might call a committed Christian, right? There's Christians that just go to church once a year on the holidays, and then you have Christians.
Right. That's all about practices. I'm asking about, do you share the same faith? Would he say he has the same faith as you and you practice it differently? I'm trying to find out like where the common and uncommon ground is here.
Yeah, so we're more of like full gospel, and he's more like Lutheran Catholic.
But that's the same faith. Those are again. Stop.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are of the same faith. What you're talking about here is I don't mean this in a small way, but that's kind of like what, if you want to talk about what the Bible says. What the Bible says is that there are these disputable matters, right? If you go to Romans like 13 and 14 in that area, it says, everybody, there are these disputable matters. Everybody has freedom in, okay? And it says, whatever your views are on those, respect other people's views and keep yours to yourself to not cause division. So that's why I was trying to find out, is this about the faith or is it about kind of how you practice it? That's all I was trying to figure out. Okay. So you have different views. Okay, so what is the question? That's what happens.
Yeah, so we don't believe that you should, live together before you're married. And
I don't either.
She just recently told us that she is moving from Denver to Connecticut to live with him.
Okay.
They're not
so you wouldn't yeah, you wouldn't do that, but she's chosen to do that.
Chosen to do that. That's right. We're trying to respect that choice,
which I wouldn't agree with. I think that the literature is pretty clear on that too. Even the research, at least the last, it's for a lot of reasons. I think it's a less than wise choice that ends up in a different path. So anyway, just as a principle, I don't think it's a good idea. But anyway, she's chosen that. So what is the question?
So she asked last night, we were talking about her leaving and kind of what are your plans, and she said, well, she's asking me as her mom, would you be willing to drive to Connecticut with me? Because she's got to put her stuff in a U-Haul and her car, and, she's got to drive to Connecticut to move there. And I responded to her and said, well, I'm going to have to think about that because, I love you as your mom. I want to be there for you and support you in every stage of your life. Like, I don't want to not be there, but yet I'm going to be helping you do something that that we fundamentally don't agree with. And I don't know how to answer that question. And she said, well, I understand that, so, let me know.
She did.
She did. So
how about that? What a cool girl. Or woman, I should say. She's 23.
I think she's awesome. She is. She's a wonderfully brilliant, beautiful, very talented woman. And, I don't really know how to respond. Like, I want to support her, but at the same time, I'm going to be, like, helping her move into a place that we just, as what we believe as a family, like our identity as a family, we don't agree with that. And I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I can tell you what I would do, but you'll have to make up your mind. Okay. I mean, I would think she, if it were my daughter, I would be clear with her and say, look, as you said, I love you, blah, 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 all those things that we say, which are true, right? I said, and because I love you, I gotta tell you, I don't think this is a good idea. And there's a lot of reasons for that we could go into. And you've already done that, right? So she knows. See, a lot of times people will say, well, I can't do this because then I'm condoning it. Well, you're not condoning it if you have told her clearly that you disagree with it, you don't think it's a good idea, and all of that. You're not condoning it. So this is the way I look at this. People have different opinions. You can send me letters, but I always think that, and certainly there are certain lines, right? But I always think that keeping the connection as much as possible, and the love and the relationship is more important than trying to take some stand to prove to them something that they already know. And I would rather keep the relationship for a couple of reasons. One is, if this crashes and burns, then the relationship is intact, right? Which this could crash and burn. Number two, that when you keep the relationship, and the more strongly, and when you love somebody well, then that also makes a path, and call it influence, because we do influence each other. I think when we're deeply understood and we're not judged, we're understood, and you hear her on why she's doing this, and how she made this decision, how she thinks about it in terms of her faith, all of that kind of stuff, and you're really listening. What that does, this is how differences get resolved. I just think the connection is really, really important. And so I wouldn't agree with it. I would tell my daughters the same thing. But I would, I'd probably drive her there. That's just me. She's going to do it anyway, right?
Yeah.
You disagree with it. You've already told her that. And I'd say that before I left. So we're not talking about it all the way there, right? Have that conversation. And I know some, you're going to hear people come down on either sides of all of this. But look, she's 23 years old. She's got to figure out her life, and she's going to be able to figure that out and experience the things that are going to make her realize that actually the more freedom she has to do that. If you go to the story of the prodigal, for example, he made his choices, and he was free to go experience those, and he had to live with the consequences of ending up, in a broken relationship, if you will. He's living with pigs, and said, I'm going back home. I'm going to do it my dad's way. I think he was right, but you can't do that if you don't, especially with adults, if they don't have the ability to have to own their choices. And sometimes when we're so much in their face that they can't fully experience the negatives because they're fighting the negatives, because we're telling them all the negatives, so they're pushing away from the negatives and holding on to the positives, that they can't experience the pain. So that's just what I would do. She's 23 years old. I mean, what are you gonna do? Not ever talk to her again because she makes this choice? She's 23. Right. She's got to figure it out. So I'm pretty sure that God's going to make that drive with her. Pretty sure. I don't think he's going to say, I ain't going with you. So that's kind of how I would look at it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, no, we've talked with her, but we've tried to be very loving about it and keep the tone like we're concerned for you. My husband and I, this is our second marriage, so we both had disaster first marriages, and we've expressed all the concerns, like we just don't want you to have to go through that, but you're an adult, we respect your choice,
Good for you.
So I just wasn't prepared how to answer when she asked me last night, because, she's not asking me for money. That's an easy no, I'm not going to finance this, but she at least knew she's smart. She knew not to ask for that. So,
right.
But yeah, you do want to stay in connection, but still stay clear on my boundaries and who I am, and at the same time, and so and she knows that. She knows where I begin and end.
And I think that's, I think that's how God is. He kind of makes himself clear about his position, and he stays in dialogue with us for a long time, sometimes years, sometimes, until we kind of come around. What I would want to ask her, first of all, I think she ought to go just look into, some of the stories about, think about, marriage is kind of like, one of the analogies I think is really important, is that if you're going to go into surgery, okay, then what do? I just had a total knee replacement. I went into surgery. When I lied down on that table and they wheeled me in and they gave me that shot that knocked me out, I was committed, right? I was committed. I wasn't getting off that table. I was going to go through to the end. Now, didn't have a choice. I was unconscious, but I made the commitment before they gave me a shot, right? Well, when you when you have the commitment of marriage, see, marriage is going to bring about surgery. It just does. It gets into our weaknesses, gets to our faults, gets to our wounds. And if you're on the surgery table that marriage is going to be a part of, well, what if you're on the surgery table and you were awake and you're going, oh, that hurts, I'm getting out of here. And you could walk out the door. We never could get mature or well or healed. What if a surgeon said, oh, crap, he's bleeding, and ran out the door? See, it's the commitment of marriage. When two people have decided, this is the one, and I'm committed to you, then that commitment makes the surgery possible to get to growth and maturity. Well, when people, they go on test drives, right? And they live together and think I need to do this to see if this is who I really want to be with. You're not going to really see, because you don't really know. You don't have the commitment to see what the fortitude is even there to, finish working through stuff. So there's a lot of reasons that I think it's a bad idea. But also the other one that I would worry, and you can play this for her or have her call me, is I would want to make sure that she's doing this because somehow she's gotten to a place in her head where she thinks in regards to her faith that this is okay, versus she's in a different place of faith and commitment to faith than her fiance. She's engaged, right? They're not engaged. Are they engaged?
No, they're not engaged
at
all.
Yeah. So is she doing this? Is she kind of compromising a little bit, or is she in the same place he is and doing this together? Because one of the things that is really, really difficult, and this is something anybody's dating anybody should really look at if they're going to get serious with somebody. Are we in the same place? Are we equally yoked? Is the way that we think about it. Because when you're in really different places and compromising yourself for the sake of a relationship, and you're not in the same place, you're not in agreement, you're making big life choices, but you're giving up your boundaries for whatever reason. I just want to make sure that she's thought through all that, because what she's got to learn is, if she is compromising what she believes for what he wants, then what's going to happen when she doesn't do that in some area? And one of the ways we find out if a relationship is strong is how well do we hear no from the person that we're going to be in a relationship with. And I don't know her, I don't know him, but is this only working because she's agreeing to go this way when she doesn't want to? Or is she doing this totally free will? This is fine with her too. I'd want her to think about that question. Okay. Got to go to some other callers. And I appreciate your concern. If it were my daughter, I would love her and say, good luck. I think it's a bad idea. Hope it works out well for you. I'm going to pray for you. That's what I would do. Okay. Tough things, tough issues. Would somebody please call me with an easy one? Please. Please. All right. Ainsley, Providence, Rhode Island, dating question. Ainsley, give me an easy one. I need an easy question. That's a painful one, the one I just got.
Hi, this is Ainsley.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How can I help you?
So, I'm single and dating, and I'm on these apps, and like, let's say someone messages me, we'll have these sort of like what I think are kind of vacuous back and forths, and they're frustrating. What
does vacuous look like?
It's like, hi, how are you? I'm great. How are you? Great. Nothing. Next day, hi from this person. Hi. So how do you like to get to know people?
Same person?
Yes, same person. Right. How do you like to get to? I asked, how do you like to get to know people?
It's not vacuous in the beginning, but if after 43 years, if you're still saying hi, how are you? That's pretty vacuous, right? I agree.
Right. Right. Where is this going?
So,
And so I'm like, okay, how? So my question is, how do you, so part of my frustration is that I feel like if you're not advancing this, then this is not worth my time. I should just cut you off. But another part of
if you're not advancing the conversation,
maybe,
you mean? Is that what you mean? You're not advancing the
right.
conversation. Yeah.
Exactly. If you're not advancing the conversation, then you know how to communicate and whatever. But another part of me is wondering if I can take a more proactive role to model what it is that I want or where I would like for things to go.
Yeah. How many times has it happened where you had multiple successive days where all the guy says is, "Hi, how are you?"
It happens so many times. Like I just blocked 2 people on Coffee Meets Bagels today because of that. Like was one guy asked, you know, "Oh, you don't talk a lot. Work?" And I was like, yeah, it's work. I'm not on Coffee Meets Bagels much. And texting is not my thing, really. To which he responds, "I understand. I saw red." It's just like, ask me for my number. And I just don't, and like, I actually don't want to communicate to someone what I think they should do. It's like, if you don't do that, then that communicates you're not interested or you're not an adult enough person to engage. So then it's just like, what the fuck are we, sorry, my language. What are we doing?
That's a good question.
And it's just so frustrating because it's like, this happens to me a lot. Like, I don't present myself like I'm vacuous. You know,
what do you do? What are you saying to them? This is so interesting. I can't imagine. I mean, I can imagine it happening here or there, but I just can't imagine that the majority of all of them are just keep continuing to say, "Hi, how are you?" That's weird.
Or, I mean, like, but that's right. I mean, or not just, "Hi, how are you?" But it's just like the conversation goes nowhere, you know? And so then I'm like, well, then I guess they're just not really interested. So then it's like, why am I getting, like, I'm just not the belle of the ball in the online world? Nobody is interested in me. Like, it's just so frustrating. Like, I just don't know what to do.
Well, okay, let me give you a suggestion without really seeing it and seeing the profiles and all that kind of stuff. But it's really weird the way you describe it. It's not weird on a one-off, right? I think, it is weird that you're running into that many that are just, "Hi, how are you?" I mean, that's kind of a dunce, repetitive vacuum. It's vacuous, right? So probably what I would do is, okay, you be them for a second. I'm going to be you. Okay. So,
okay.
So I'm Ainsley. "Hi, Joey. How are you?"
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I looked at your profile and I thought it was really interesting that you did this or that. So how long have you been on the site? Wait, tell me about yourself.
Oh, well, I've been on and off for quite some time now. But like, yeah, I don't stay on for long because I find the dating process frustrating. How about you? Like, how have things been going on for you?
Yeah, I'll tell you that in a minute, but what's frustrating about it for you?
It's just, you know, like.
So in other words,
I think
let's hit pause here. Let's hit pause for a second. See
okay.
What I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm going to ask, and I'm going to pull, and I'm going to say, "I saw this on your profile. Tell me more about that," and see if there's anything beneath the surface here. If you keep getting one word, but I would try to grab a string like a sweater, and I'd grab it and I'd pull it out. I'd ask a few questions, and that's going to tell you. I mean, it may be the medium. It's awkward in the beginning, but it's going to tell you if anybody lives in the vacuum. But I would take some piece of information that they put either on their profile or whatever, and I would ask some questions, and I'd see if they got more than that. And then here's the key: if you want to learn something about somebody, when they tell you something, ask them a question about exactly what they just said. I don't mean repeating it. I mean, when they said, I just quit my job, and you say, why'd you do that? Oh, I found it frustrating. I didn't like the boss. Then say, what was it about the boss? So, and you're going to find how deep this onion is. But I would probably, if you're asking, what can you do about it? That's probably the best thing you can do. Otherwise, I just keep looking because I mean, it's got to be somebody in the world that can have a conversation. You can.
I know,
right?
right?
I know. I've been talking to you here for
a
few minutes, and we're doing great.
Right?
Right?
I'm just like, what the hell? What's going on? Anyway, thank you so much for your time.
And speaking of, what the hell was going on? If somebody was saying, hi, how are you? I would probably say, you know what? You've asked me that a few times. I'm fine. Do you have anything more you'd like to ask me than that? I would kind of call out the elephant in the room. I love to call out the elephant and say, that's the third time you said that. What else is in your head? So try that, see if it works, and then call me back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ainsley. Tori, my wife, and I talk about this. Sometimes we'll say, you know what, the worst thing about being married is you can't date anymore. Dating is so fun. I would think that'd be a blast. I mean, if somebody's like giving you dumb answers, wouldn't it be fun to wouldn't it be fun to kind of ask them about their dumb answers? I mean, I think that'd be a riot. I think I'd say, well, that's kind of a short answer. Do you have more than that? You ever try a complete sentence, Joey? That might be fun. Give me, anyway, I think this could be fun. So let's go to Daniel, who's calling us from California. Daniel, welcome to the program.
Hello, Dr. Cloud.
How are you?
Good. I am calling because I have kind of my wife and I have been married 20 plus years. We have a really good marriage, but lately I've been doing some things that have triggered some stuff from her past. Her mom was like a really malignant narcissist, really tough person to be around. She had to have high defenses, and so as time has gone on in our marriage, I've done some things that have made it my defenses and her defenses aren't liking each other. So I was looking for some advice for how to kind of break down some of that.
I love that phrase, by the way. My defenses and her defenses aren't liking each other. That's good. That's kind of the nature of defense, right? We put up a defense when we don't like something, but I like that. So the question is what?
How do I avoid some of these pitfalls, some of these struggles that I'm triggering her past? Because not everybody really understands what a malignant narcissist is and kind of how she was invalidated through that childhood. And I've done some things in conversation, repeating in a mocking way and her feelings. So it's like she would say something that I've perceived as kind of like putting me down or trying to, I don't know, make me, I don't know, she's trying to get my attention on something, and I'll kind of be, I'll just repeat what she said so that I hope that she sees what she's saying is not, not the best way to get where she wants to go. And she percedes that as me mocking her. So stuff like that where it's like her defenses go really high.
Whoa. I want to experience it. Okay, so do it to me.
Okay.
What is it you do to her?
So, I guess she'll say something like, "Don't you think it's smart to do whatever?" And so I'll key in on, don't you think it's smart? And I'll kind of come back with that kind of, same response, repeating it.
Why wouldn't
what
you,
she said?
Why wouldn't you just answer the question? If I say, hey Daniel, don't you think it's smart to A, B, or C? Why wouldn't you just answer the question?
And I will definitely get to answering the question.
No. I'm asking.
That feeling
stop for a second. You didn't answer the question. Whether or not you're gonna get to it, you didn't. in that moment, why wouldn't you just answer the question? I'm trying to get at what's driving you here. Why wouldn't you just answer the question?
Keying in on the word smart. Okay, are you saying that I'm dumb? That's the feeling of trying to just say, all right, is that where you want to go with this?
Okay, you think she's calling you dumb when she says that?
Yeah, and I'm just using that one example.
Okay.
But she'll state that phrase or whatever, and it's like, so then when I repeat that back to her, like, do you get that this is the way that you're doing this? She perceives that as me mocking her, and I'm just trying to get her to that place of going.
Then let me give you what I think is a little better way to respond to that. Okay. Sure. So you be her. Okay. I'm going to do something, and you say something about to me that. Go ahead. You be her. Don't you?
Don't you think it would be smart of you to take the trash out in the morning instead of the afternoon? It would be easier on everybody.
It'd be easier on everybody, or easier on you? You'd prefer it that way.
Yeah, easier on everybody, because then they don't get full as easy, and we have places to put the trash. I don't.
Okay.
Just role play.
Okay. Yeah. I guess. I mean, it sounds like it's important to you. Would you rather I take it out in the morning? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I can do that. That's fine. Let me ask you something, honey.
Go ahead.
No, I'm talking to her.
Okay.
And I'm just asking because I'm expressing a feeling, something that kind of felt to me like, and again, I'm making an assumption here, sweetheart. So you're gonna have to tell me. It felt to me like that kind of hurt a little bit. It felt a little bit like a put down, like you're saying I'm dumb. Is that what you were saying? Did you mean it like that? Because that's how it felt. I'm just checking it out. See, what I'm doing now is I'm not giving back to her what she gave to me. If she's being sarcastic, I'm not going to give her sarcasm back.
Right.
And when your initial question of what's a way out of this, one of my favorite verses says this: don't be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. All right. So let's translate that to marriage, and let's substitute evil with the word immature or dysfunctional. Okay. So in any human relationship, what you're going to get is you're kind of meeting each other in a good spot, right? Well, sometime in the near future, one of us is going to do something that's less than mature. Okay. In this case, she's going to be sarcastic. She would say, don't you think it'd be smarter to, well, that's kind of sarcastic. It's a little bit of a dig, whatever. It wouldn't get to me. It got to you. Other things would get to me. They probably wouldn't get to you. But, it's a little, let's just call it sarcastic. Okay. So she does this little dig. Well, now, if you see the screen here, okay, see that's immature. That's less than mature. So if you're going to be overcome by dysfunction, overcome means it pulls you down to her level in that moment. So she gives you sarcastic, well, you give it right back. Well, now our relationship has regressed to an more immature, dysfunctional level. But if we're not going to be overcome by dysfunction, and we're going to overcome dysfunction with maturity, then give her a mature response, which is actually the kind of communication, that we just talked about. I ask you a question, what you meant by that. I said, I answered the question on face value. Yeah, I think I could do that. If that's what you mean, it'd be better for you. But I want to ask you a second question. And I'm going to tell you, that kind of hurt a little bit. Did you mean it that way? And so now we're going to have an adult conversation about a non-adult kind of hook. But you're not going to get hooked by it. You're going to give her a mature response back. So I would think in that way and not let her hook you, because you guys are hooking each other. So step back, stay separate. You have choices. Are you going to respond with an immature response, or are you going to respond with something that invites her into more disclosure and kind of a good way of talking about it? Okay. I would look at it that way. And I'm looking at the clock here. Where are we? Let me see. Okay. And that's unfortunately, I got to go and get to, let me see. Yeah, I got to get to another caller, but thank you for that. It's a really good question. You know, when we're in any relationship, look, every relationship is going to give less than mature moments. The strength of the relationship is, can we match our, the person in the relationship that we're with, can we match their immaturity at that moment with our maturity? We give them immaturity back, then you need a chaperone. You got kids that can't get along in the sandbox. I mean, I when I worked with couples a lot, I would tell them, you guys can't talk about this issue at home alone. If I'm not in the room, if you're not here in a session, I don't want you talking about this issue, because you're having a marriage discussion, and marriage is meant for adults. We don't let children get married, okay? And marriage is meant for adults, and you shouldn't practice it without an adult present. And when you guys talk about this issue, there's no big person in the room. You need a chaperone. So don't bring this up unless I'm there, until you guys can do better. See, that's all of us in life. So we need to make sure that we are giving back better than we got. And when we're giving maturity for immaturity, we're an upward force. That's how you turn around a relationship. You give back better than you got. I wrote a book called 9 Things You Simply Must Do to Succeed in Love and Life. Pretty good title, I thought. Well, one of the 9 things was don't play fair. See, fair is like the law of the Bible, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. You poke my eye out, I'll poke your eye out. You knock my tooth out, I'll knock your tooth out. It's fair. She's sarcastic. It's fair to be sarcastic back. That's fair. Don't play fair. You'll ruin every relationship in your life. If we play fair, we will ruin every relationship in our life. Why? Because somebody's going to fail, and then you're going to play fair. You're going to fail them back. She has an affair, then you go have an affair. Why would you want to do that? Somebody fails. Let's play better than fair. See, God doesn't play fair with us. He gives us grace when we fail, and he pulls us upward to the next level. That's how we improve life, by giving each other better than we got in the bad moment. Now, that better may sometimes involve a limit, a confrontation, and all of that, but it's not done sarcastically. It's done in a healthy way. Okay. Real quickly here. You know what? I don't know. I don't know if we really have time to get to another caller, unfortunately. So we are going to, what is sorry, I'm, one of the things about COVID is you're always by yourself. You don't have your protection team with you. And I'm communicating here with my team to find out what's going on with our questions. So I think that probably we don't have time. We've only got a minute or two to take another caller, and wish we did, but I would encourage people that are standing by on hold to call back another day. We're going to be here. For all of you, I would like to thank you for joining us again as we kind of talk about life, and we talked about some good stuff today. We talked about, accepting where people are that differ in their opinions, politics and faith and all that. If we can't have a relationship with people that differ than us, then we're going to look like Washington. Remember in the old days when they could actually talk across the aisle, right? They could work things out. They could get things done. Well, now they can't do that. You got all this division everywhere. If we can't talk to people we disagree with, then we're, as Abraham Lincoln said, As Jesus said, a house divided cannot stand. And until we can begin to listen to each other and find a third way that, you know, we're not totally just so much division, then it's hard to move forward. Anyway, boundaries.me. I want to remind you, go to that website, go look at it, boundaries.me. Sign up, become a subscriber. You'll get access to a lot of information, a lot of courses, a lot of topics on dealing with all of life, and want to hear from you, especially if you're a boundaries.me member. Remember to send us your email questions, because I'll be taking them in the beginning of the show. Okay, guys, well, that's it for today. I am on the road. I think tomorrow, if I understand the lay of the land well, I'm traveling, but here's my wish tomorrow. I'm going to get back to LA, and I'm going to get back there late in the afternoon. Then we're going to be on a normal schedule, I think, finally. I've been traveling this week. We'll be back on a normal time on the show, but tomorrow I'm going to do a show, hopefully a little later in the day. So watch for the times. I think it'll probably be late afternoon, probably mid to late afternoon Pacific time. So go on wherever you're watching it now and find out what time we'll be there, and we will be there. Okay. I always love talking to you guys. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you tomorrow.